And a good morning, a good evening, a good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zwift Live broadcast of the Zwift Racing League, presented by WTRL. I'm Nathan Guerra, Dave Towle next to me, and we are into race number 2 of round 3 of the 2022-23 season. We're out on TTT. Dave, it's time trial day for Zwift Racing League, and I've seen posts and questions and hype and all kinds of I think whiteboard lessons that have been coming through with the spirit of Anna Russell happening. So we're out on Magnificent 8 today, Dave, and it's going to be, I don't know about a Donnybrook. I think it's going to be absolutely a team like Royal Rumble, but within each one of the teams today.
I agree. Donnybrook would not be the term. This is a course that we've had traditionally quite a bit of experience on through the years. It's been used. It's hard to believe. This is technically, it's like the Star Wars trilogies. This is the third of 3. So the 9th season, technically, that we've had going underway right now for CRL. And I believe this course has been used at least once, but I'd say even twice, actually, along the way. It's so that's nice. You've got these benchmarks, but we're going to see the fastest times ever in the changes with time trial bikes being allowed, Nathan. As you know, that's going to make a huge difference. That should shave 15, 20 seconds off of the fastest time that we've seen out here. We don't have to say fastest known time. We can say fastest time. So this is a good look at the course they're racing on. There's no feature outside of really hilly KOM reverse that stands out. It's a straight ahead. I mean, this would be a great course, Nathan, for the World Time Trial Championships of esports.
100%. That little climb in the middle of that, it's a solid, I would say, 320 to 340 at the pace that the A men are climbing. It's going to be in that 340 to 430-ish for the A women as far as the times go over the top of that climb itself. So a good little punch in the middle of things for that reverse hilly KOM. But at the same time, it's not necessarily, it's not a climber's course. The rest of it is really flat. As you can see, the Magnificent 8 does take on the outer parts of the Watopia original roads, as well as throwing in that hilly KOM reverse. Let's take a look at the standings for what we are covering out here today for the men. We'll take a look at the Women's Central in just a moment, but it is going to be EMEA Central. This is what we will be covering for the rest of this round in this season. Actually, just as a heads up to everybody, this will be the division we will be covering. It looks like next, presented by Insured Art, dominating, but Wahoo Nicole Beast Mode, Team Castelli Hexagon. Am I talking about Zwift Grand Prix right now, Dave?
I was just thinking that. I was honestly just thinking that, Nathan, that if you didn't know what event you were doing and someone just started you at this point, I would say sure. And if you look at the rosters, too, is that these teams, some of them have, 18 different runners, but these are the A teams that these squads have. And, man, it is going to be a throwdown, no doubt about it. Nathan, I want to quickly go back to that reverse hilly KOM. You're not going to win the race out there, but that's where you could find yourself actually losing it. I know that's a long-standing cliche, but it really holds true in moments like that out on the course today. So you look at this. This is after one race of this season now. And already, you can establish a bit of a pecking order, but what we've learned is it is more competitive than ever. There is more parity than I ever could imagine we would see, especially so early in the timeline of esports racing. So next, they've become the 800-pound gorilla, I'd say, over the last couple years of esports racing. But they're seeing challenges like they've never seen before. Wahoo Nicole is certainly part of that. The A1 squad living up to that, sitting on 19 points in second. You can see it's linear. The points stack up one by one here. So Rose Beast Mode is in third with 18 points, but man, do they have a strong roster, and they don't miss a step. I'll be watching out for them today for sure with the team time trial experience they have. Team Castelli, presented by Elite, sitting at 17 points here. Really, obviously, you're still in the mix. Every team here is still in the mix. Hexagon, mostly French and Turkey represented on that squad, sitting in fifth right now. ZTPL, the small E to the R to the T in sixth. It's Team NLA Elite in 7th. Restart, the Power Dropouts in 8th. That familiar jersey. The Zwift kids, good to see them stepping up here. They're sitting in 9th. You got to start somewhere here. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. When you get into this level racing, you just start looking to start climbing that ladder if you're a team like the Zwift kids or Gran Fondo Team BE. So let's get it on out there. That's one race into a 6-race season. So let's see who's going to make some hay out there as it's harvest time out on this 28.6 kilometer course. James Barnes, the people's champion here, Nathan, on the front. The next rider, this team's got Ashton Lambie, one of our my all-time favorite riders, that's for sure, the world record holder, the world champion. So let's take a look at next. I bet you they're setting some fast times early. There's Richard Berry, the Irishman, who we really appreciate, super strong rider, punching above his weight today. Good job, Richard.
Yeah, Richard Berry jumping in here, but we are in camp with Barney now, also the South African. He will be representing, actually, it looks like, at the World. Actually, a lot of these guys are representing at the World Championships. I did have a Instagram post that went out from Barney this morning, I believe, showing that his device had showed up, and there was a question from the team manager that came through to me as to whether or not we'd be able to get them to show up today, as a lot of them are doing their ZADA tests on their equipment for World Championships over at the next team. So once that equipment shows up, the riders actually have to go and do a test on that specific equipment to make sure all levels are right and that they get a baseline about where things stand with the device.
Such a professional organization. Well, not just Next, but to be honest, to race at this level, it requires that. So good to see that James Barnes, boy, does he look fit as a fiddle right now. Just a machine here for the Next team. Nathan, they always put on a clinic, no doubt about it. With World Championships coming up, I mean, it's basically a month from now. This team is really clicking.
Yeah, they're looking really good. I'd be surprised if they didn't take things down today. But as you did say, they do have Wahoo Lacole to deal with, Dave. And I'm seeing Mark Modding is out here today from Wahoo Lacole. Some of the top riders in the world of esports also over on that team. If I take a look at the start list real quickly here, I'm going to get a good idea of Wahoo Lacole is showing up. It looks like Ben Meir, Ben Russell, Christopher Dawson is out there today, Jan Steinman, Mark Modding, who actually took down last week's Zwift Grand Prix overall win when it came to the final line in the in that last ditch effort, actually, to the forward KOM, if you remember correctly, up against Abus Cole last week. So Mark Modding is so on form right now. Another one, and then no other than Teppo Lorio has shown up out there today. So great to see WLC with a really high level team out here, and they are right within striking distance, I think, right now when it comes to the times that are starting to come in for the TTT today. I'm going to wait a couple of seconds here before we start to get that data through. But what I could see in the riders nearby list, I think Wahoo Lacole is matching the times of Next at this point.
Nathan, they do have a statistical advantage. Talking about Wahoo Lacole, they're starting with the full 6 on their roster versus the 5 that started for Next. You were talking about a very good possible reason for why it's 5 with the new equipment and all of that, but certainly not ideal. There's a team that are going to overcome it, and Ashton Lambie, they should call him 10 Lambie. He rides with the strength of 10 men. He really does. So this is going to be so much fun. I'm looking at Rose Beast Mode as well. That roster, we'll be looking at splits, but time taken off of your 4th rider's front wheel out here today. Zach Neer, haven't even mentioned Zach yet. He'll be representing the United States again at the World Championships. Another very popular rider who really, Nathan, and someone who's really stepped up as far as the knowledge and the ability in the world of esports. Talking about Zach.
Yeah, Near, always one to watch out for when it comes to this specific team as well. The role that he tends to play is the breakaway champion. He tends to have an amazing functional threshold power, a rider who can make a breakaway stick. He's got an amazing 5-minute power as well. I'd really be watching out for him in the later halves of this race, actually, in this TTT, to be a mainstay to maybe start taking some longer pulls amongst the riders today.
So these guys are not right now a team that has as much experience as a unit. I would say, Nathan, so they're teams that have been around longer, but I don't know that they're teams that have been working together at this craft as long. is this group of individuals here. Ashton Lambie, I mentioned his in real life Paul Mars. I mean, he comes in as truly one of the greatest of his generation. And if we celebrated track cycling more in the United States, he would be on the Wheaties boxes. He's a huge, huge star. One of the very only, I believe, two, maybe three human beings that have set some of the greatest benchmark times. But looking at the squad, Nathan, they are flying. We talked about the technical details here. The fact that time trial bikes are being allowed is making a huge difference for a squad who knows how to use that tool very, very effectively.
Take a look at the matching up here. Now we're going to get some pictures here of WLC and the kind of wattage per kilogram that they're throwing down on the front of their TTT train versus what we're seeing right now from Next. I just saw Steinman at the front at 6.7, 6.5 watts per kilogram. Thomas Thrall throwing down 430 watts. Now Barry coming on through at 7.6 with a little bit of a surge there, up in that 51 kilometers per hour. These are the data points you have to be watching for when it comes to a team time trial. It really matters. Speed and the speed you're carrying through. You can be doing all the wattage that you possibly want if you're sitting in the middle of the pack, you're sitting at the wrong point in your TTT line. You don't pull through with the right amount of wattage at the right times, and the speed doesn't go anywhere. As you saw, Barry just pulled through really high for just a moment there, but it was only a 15-30-second pull. You notice that, Dave? And now goes to the back at 49 kilometers per hour, near to the front, and keeps to 51.
Well,
I think they're looking at the speed goal right now, Dave, with the power that they have.
Listen, 100%. Nathan, and one of the things that you really learn is, if you're going to stay in the rotation when you get to the front, if you start bogging down a little bit and going underneath that level, then you just get off the front and rotate out. They know what they're doing, but you can see they're starting to pull back just a tiny amount of time. We'll be able to watch very, very closely in real time. You can see, though, that, if we ended the race at 14.9K, it would looks like a couple second advantage going to Wahoo Lacole right now, Nathan. There's so few opportunities. We're not talking about seconds gained here and seconds lost. We're talking about tenths and hundredths of a second that you stack on top of each other to find. This race, I would expect we see three teams within 10 seconds of each other at the finish today.
Yeah, this is going to be very, very close. You can see exactly that with what we're seeing from WLC now. This is modding the man, but there's a little separation here, Dave. This is a point where now they're keeping it though. Now we're going to look real quickly at Russell's perspective here. He's keeping it just within the distance that you need to keep on the. Well, see, it's going out just a little bit. As Modding is pushing 6.9 watts per kilogram, Russell's not necessarily getting everything that he needs for a rest at this point. 365 watts, 350 watts. It could be just a little bit lower, most likely right on Modding's wheel. As Modding pushes at 7.4. This is a TTT lesson right here. He's probably only getting a 50 to 80% draft rather than that 90 to 100 that you're a lot of times looking to see. Russell having to kick up into that orange real quickly there. He is going to come over the top with a lot of speed. Now, does that cause any kind of a slingshot behind is going to be the question. Will Mir be directly on the wheel? It looks like they're going to keep this all together, but 49 kilometers per hour you're seeing here, Dave. Is that going to match what we saw from Next through this section? I think Next we're going just a tad bit faster through that specific section, but they have brought back 5 seconds overall. So WLC overall have done what they need. Now we're seeing a call out there. 30 seconds. They're changing things up a little bit here rather than doing the 1 minute.
Yeah, well, and that, a lot of teams would have been blown to bits just all over the shop with going through what this team just went through, but these guys were able to keep it together. That was really resolute there. And what a perfect example of how hard it is to manage this, because that could have gone absolutely haywire out there. But this is a battle royale that we've got going on. We're actually looking at now, you can see it's about a half-minute advantage that the top two teams are starting to open up. The teams here start based on their results, and it'll continue this. Well, we have one more team time trial to look forward to for this group in this season. But in the team time trials, it starts with the top team points going out first and working your way down that order there. They look really good right now, Nathan. Back to you here with Wahoo Lacole. They're perfect right now.
They're looking solid. Now, they do tend to have some of the best DSs in the game for sure when it comes to Wahoo Lacole. They're very committed, very large team. They have a lot of knowledge to pull from. When it does come to WLC, that is something about WLC that is kind of special comparatively to Next presented by Insured. That WLC has a huge breadth of riders at all different levels, Dave, right? Wahoo Lacole has A, B, C, D, and then they have this top tier team. Whereas Next, presented by Insured, they have maybe a B team, like a B roster, and then their elite team. And that is what there is. And I'm wondering, I'm not going to say that Next doesn't have the know-how and the experience and the de-esting and all that kind of stuff, but there is something to be said for a strength in numbers when it comes to the amount of knowledge within a team that can be built up to bring something to the table that has extreme tactics and kind of glue they have to bring together that we see with the WLC team. I've just got to say, across the board, and we're talking micro, just little, very little things within Wahoo Lacole, I noticed time and again when it comes to team time trialing, there's just something different about them.
But that's a really, really interesting point you're making, Nathan. When you look at it, it's also a good example of there's different ways to get to the top of the pyramid with success. Both of these teams have done that, and you're right, they're not exactly the same. That's for sure. A big part of the success, but it holds for both of them just in different ways. The macro and the micro, I guess, is going back again to a team that is so well DS. Director Sportifs do a tremendous job where, when you look at the next team, it's got a little bit more, not boys club, but maybe that would be the right term. The Wahoo Lacole, to their credit, have got a women's team as well. With Next, it's more like the dudes on the team managing it themselves, which is the way a lot of teams are run, certainly in North America for sure. So going back though to Wahoo Lacole right now, it's going to be close. We've got another 10-ish K to race out here. And I wouldn't be surprised if this one goes down to 1 second difference between those two teams.
Now, the difference, you mentioned something earlier today. We'll go take a look at Beast Mode and the rest here in just a moment. Look at this little bit of a separation. I don't think Tempo Lorio is going anywhere, perhaps. Now, this is the one section, of course, where we do have a little bit of an uphill in the middle of the Fuego Flats. And this can cause, because a lot of speed comes over. This is a section where you can ramp the speed up massively, and I've seen all the way up into the 57 kilometers per hour at times through this section. Actually, if you really push the numbers, they're not doing that because they did see Teppo, and they do not want to lose Teppo or Steinman at this point. 186 beats per minute now. Madi now back to the front, 7 watts per kilogram, as you can see here. 3 riders here leading things out. Wow, Dave, a lot of times when riders come back that way, their speeds are so high that they overlap the riders in front of them. Look at that. Kept it perfect. Nobody interrupted, and Madi continues on.
See, and, going back to that moment, that was absolutely fantastic if you're trying to teach within team time trialing. Because when that little gap started opening up, and as you were saying, Nathan, you can go 55, 56, 57K per hour through the section, and probably a couple of those guys could have done that. But if they'd done that, they would have done major damage to the team. So, good for you. You're a stud, but you were very counterproductive in that moment. And that's where ego has to check itself at the door in this sport. Just because you can and you want to show people that you can, if you do that, you really screw over the guys at the back of that group. And
100%. And Lorio needed a second, didn't he? He needed just those
just a second.
Just a second, right?
Yeah. And that might be you. That might be you one day, and you'll sure appreciate when Teppo doesn't hit the gas at that moment and put you on the spotlight of the guy in trouble. That was absolutely fantastic team riding. It's so subtle, Nathan, but those guys probably could have hit 56 kilometers per hour through there, and they used their discretion as great teammates to not do that, and that's why the team is faster. Boom. Great job. Back to Next.
Back to Next. And Dave, I think the reality, though, I wanted to speak to this talking point here real quickly as we look at the comparison between this Next esports, really looking at how these two teams function. There's not a lot of difference at this point when we do see between them and the ways, maybe a little bit of difference in the rotations, the timing that they throw down here. But let's speak to 5 versus 6, Dave. That is a full 30 seconds to a minute, depending on what kind of pull schedule that they're doing here and the timings that these riders are not getting for rest, and where they have to be burning that glycogen, burning the thing that really keeps you in the race, Dave. Those energy stores are so incredibly important when you're over threshold, when you're at 450 watts or so, and they've got to do that on a steeper schedule. They've got to do that on a much faster schedule because of that one less rider here. That makes a massive difference between these two teams today.
I mean, if you think about it, Nathan, it really comes down to your weak link, right? If you've got one, it's going to be exposed and exposed quickly. Much like in soccer or football, a team can play with 10 athletes and spread out that workload and everybody pick up a little bit more, but you've got to have a strong team to do that. Next is a strong team. That point is incredibly valid. But these, going back again, talking about next out here, they've been incredibly strong today. This is going to be Richard Berry, the Irishman on the team. I mean, to be fair, I think they've been synchronized and, haven't seen every second for both teams, but I think next has been synchronized a tiny bit better than Wahoo Cole out here.
Yeah, I think I've seen a little bit less separation between them.
A little less.
A little bit
not
here
dramatic.
and there. But the reality is even with that, though, so far with 6 riders versus 5, it does look like, let's take a look here real quickly. That's actually not going to be the right size. There we go. There's the right size. When it comes to the time schedule, Dave, it's pretty close, but Wahoo Cole on that 14K marker came through at a 16:54, whereas next presented by Insured, a 17:02, as you can see there. So, but they were tied neck and neck at 6 kilometers, 7:08 even. Now they're at 24:12 at the 20 here kilometer mark, and we'll see what WLC will come through in just a moment.
At the end of the party, right? In the old days, they'd pass the hat because they had to pay the fiddler, pay the piper. Well, that's kind of what's happening on Next right now. They're going to run out of watts out there to pay the piper to win this race, right? And we could very well see a tie heading into round 3 of the ZRL WTRL season. And yeah, this is why at this level now you show up with 5 guys. When it's Next, it's not like you're showing up at a gunfight with a knife, to be fair, but you're showing up at the slightly lower caliber rifle. You got to be a little bit more accurate, giving a little more leeway for these guys, and now you can expect them kind of to start pouring it on here. Those splits are coming in. It's still, Nathan, hardly a dramatic difference there, 7 seconds. I mean, Next can still win this race today.
Yeah, they can. They're going to have to really pour it on the back end of the race, though, to make things happen. It's going to have to be a monstrous effort. And, riders like Lorio, Steinman, the reality of the level that the Wahoo race is at, will it be in the legs of Next to pull something like this back? Look at the time differences, though. Even up against Team Castelli, they're presented by Elite. I mean, they've got, this is just, they're the closest, obviously also being a Grand Prix level race crew there, 17-17 here, but these two are just putting on a show.
Actually, look at the depth that we've got. Castelli presented by Elite at 17-17, sitting in 3rd. It's only 4 seconds back there to Hexagon. Hexagon A in 4th. And then another 8 seconds back to ZTPL. Beast Mode presented by Rose, 17:30. Only 1 second, though, off of 5th. And it'll be interesting to see how that changes because they don't like giving up those points out there, that's for sure. But very, very high level of racing going on right now here in the Europe, Middle East, and Africa Central. We're in with the A's. We've got thousands and thousands of people racing around the globe in all the different categories, but this is the very, very high end. As we take a look at Wahoo Cole now, they're trying to hold on to a slender advantage that they've got at this point as we're down to a little over 4K of racing. All the tough bits are behind them at this point now, Nathan, so they're just flat out flying here at 54 kilometers per hour as we take a look at James Barnes, possible world champion. Big one coming up here. And Barnes looks to be on some great form right now as, Next is going to try to come back. Certainly looking to hold on to 2nd at worst to keep them on top of the table here in the early goings of this season.
Looking at Barney here, 173 beats per minute. I'm not sure he's been taking too many pulls, though. I wonder if he's suffering a little bit out there today from sub training or perhaps maybe doing his auto test. What I'm really impressed by here is I have not seen Ashton Lambie in and amongst the crew for quite a while, and I've seen him making monster pulls. Actually, great to see Lambie here jumping back in with the crew, and I think they were struggling a little bit to get a full roster. Obviously, missing one rider out here today, and now having Lambie out here and actually able to roll with this crew out here today shows he's got a lot of great fitness as we come into this 2023 season.
The champion standard DNA that is Ashton Lambie, right? What an honor it is even just to have him racing with us here, and how fun it is to have him on your team as well. He's just a great dude at the end of the day, and that's what this team really is all about. These guys have a lot of fun together, and I mean, they make esports look fun. They take it seriously. They're super focused, but they know how to have a laugh along the way, and that's going to be the team that we're looking at now as they come into the last couple K. Full gas, as they say, with 2 Z's at the end, as 5 guys stepped up. It's only going to be a handful of seconds at the finish line, but Wahoo Lacole, it looks like that tenacious lot is en fuego. No doubt about it today. Battle these monster teams, but this is a long season. We're not forgetting you, Castelli or Hexagon. There's quite a bit of talent out on the roads of Watopia today. Back to you, Nathan, as we pick up James Barnes taking his big turn. Looks like they saved James for the back end of the race a little bit, or that's how it's working out anyways. This is a big pull from Barnes here.
Yeah, 420 watts. That's what it looks like on the front end of this race just a moment ago. Now you have to finish with 4. I wonder if they're going to throw a last dish effort out here today. If there's going to be,
that might have been it from
we'll
Barnes.
see.
Yeah.
7.8. Looks like he's jumping back on here, but are any riders going to just ramp things up and say, hold on, 55 kilometers per hour? That's what we're going to need right here, right now.
That's interesting, Nathan, because that is your complete and utter commitment to the team time trial. You don't necessarily have to do that, but I would expect that they would. And really, I mean, something like that is how you find another possible half second out there, is having one rider go to the front, do a monster and a half pull. I mean, go so deep it's insane, and then finish. The finish time. Then, if the time is taken off of that rider's wheel, then things went dramatically wrong with the 4 that you're timing off of. Again, you start with a maximum of 6. Most teams did start with 6. I think everybody probably outside of Next starting up. Oh, actually, Castelli started with 4 today, if I'm reading that correctly, and they're up there in 3rd. I didn't notice that. If they really did start with 4, that's actually even more incredible, the ride that Castelli, presented by Elite, is having. But back to the action at hand here as they're into the final K. Nathan, let's bring them home. Is it 5? It is 5.
Keeping it together here, and Zach Neer, as we said earlier, going to be the man toward the end here that's going to be pulling them in at 7.4 watts per kilogram, 513 watts. Thomas Thrall down, coming over the top. This is what the final K looks like at the top level of this esport here. 180 beats per minute and 457 watts. 7 watts per kilogram is what they're calling for this final K to the line.
And it's one thing for anybody who does this, you realize how ridiculous and how much this has to hurt, but be able to stay in contact here and using the finesse required to ride in this formation when you're under that kind of stress is absolutely amazing. And it is going to be, taking a look at Thomas Thrall, the Canadian legend up there, really showing us how to Canuck out here. The South African flag there for James Barnes, Richard Berry out of the Republic of Ireland, and then the American Zach Nair here for the next team. Is it enough?
Is it enough? We're going to see here in just a second. This is what the final looks like here over the handlebars, and that was everything you got there from Next, presented by Insured. Wow. We'll see if we and these times as they're starting to come in here, we'll see how things are starting to play out. I also want to quickly here, let's take a look at what things look like at the finish line when on a ZRL day. Everybody cooling down, as you can see here. It's an absolute...
The poor runner.
the runner
Savage.
is making their way around here as
He's
well.
got to be wondering, right? What is going
Overtaken by
on?
all these people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a bit like, wow. I guess it's just another day on Venice Beach.
We'll jump in with the rest of our riders here in just a moment as
Need a
we're looking
rollerblader.
for. Yeah, we sometimes
That
we
would
do
be funny.
lose the rest of the groups here as we look to stay in with them on the. Here we go. We'll
Well,
jump in there in a second here. There we go. This should bring us right on over to Team Italy. And this is actually maybe why. Now look at this. As you said here, Dave, 4 riders. Interesting enough. And we're seeing Zanaska, though, taking the. This is exactly what I would expect from him. He's their breakaway specialist. We've seen him in the Zwift Grand Prix as a few, the Premier Division level of Zwift racing. Break away and stay away from the very top level of this esports. So Zanaska here pushing huge watts right now at this 50 kilometers per hour.
yeah, taking a look at the guys, it's Nicolo Severa there as well. Francesco Polini. Polini may be the scratch on this team. But yeah, they've really stepped up, the Italians. It's been fun to watch them. Love these Canyon bikes that they're on as well. Not everyone though. What is that? The gray frame there. It almost looks like
The Cadix.
actually, I don't want
The
to.
Cadix is what I think he's
Oh,
on there.
is that the fastest of all of these
Yep,
bikes? I think I was
Zanaska
reading.
picking the Cadix because it is going to be the fastest. Everybody else on the Canyon there, interesting enough. It may be a. I wonder if it's a style thing or a drop thing, but I'd be really surprised. This is going to be Lucas Versleis. He is the only non-Italian. He's a Canadian, actually. He rides traditionally for Team Experimental out here, and he's actually a streamer as well, called Dr. Weebles, actually, over on Twitch. Good to see Lucas out here, guest riding for one of the top teams in the world. Great little pickup, as he's been around the world of Zwift racing for quite a while, as well as the streamer world. I mean, for as long as I can remember. So great to see Lucas jumping in with this team.
I will buy you breakfast every time I see you the rest of our lives if his dad isn't Belgian.
Really? Really? Is
Oh, that
like,
last name. Yeah, that's a pretty good clue. All right. So Nathan, 4 guys, we were talking about. I think it is
breakfast. I'm looking forward to breakfast. I'm gonna message him and make sure.
Find out. If I'm wrong, we'll revisit it. I think he's so proud of being Belgian that he surged off the front a little bit. They must be watching the broadcast. But I love this team. I love Castelli gear. Yeah, throwing some watts down right now as these guys are in the home stretch here. And the fact that they might be riding to a top 3 today with 4 riders, that's commendable. Congratulations, guys. We'll see. But either way, they put up a spirited fight today.
100%. And there's a plenty. Now, one more team, Dave, that I definitely want to check in with, because they are one of the top teams in the world and are in and amongst this. This is going to be Hexagon.
Hexagon.
Yep, jumping in here. And they were sitting in that 5th place. They were only 4 seconds behind, though. So we're going to start getting some results coming in here. Now, one thing that I want to pick up on, though, Dave, look at this time coming in from the Zwift kids. Up against the top teams in the world right now, Zwift kids had a 24:32, challenging Castelli and Hexagon into these finals here.
That's how you show up on our radar. No doubt about it. And now we'll dig in and start learning more about what's going on, because this is fantastic. Do you know anything about this team, Nathan? I realize that, thousands and thousands of racers. This is a new team to me, I'll be honest, but I'm intrigued. Hexagon finishing.
They're so new to me. I'm trying to figure out who are they? Where are
this is
they?
how it
I'm
works.
looking through the teams here. Like what? Who are you people? What is happening even with the Zwift kids? We'll see if I can figure out even what their names are.
So this is how you do it, folks, and it's why I love these broadcasts. We used to, on Thursdays, for boy, like 160 Thursdays in a row or something. Well, we did a broadcast in conjunction with WTRL's Team Time Trials. And that really, in a lot of ways, is the roots of all the racing that we do. WTRL and Martin Carew, a tremendous job of helping nurture this sport and creating the templates and just building this from the ground up. And here we are now. These team time trials are a critical part of being successful in the ZRL. And we're going to see the teams that have that experience on Thursdays. And the reason I've been talking about that is because that's where we met so many riders along the way. And team time trialing skills. There's the runner again, just absolutely inundated with cyclists out here. It's got to
Absolutely.
be frustrating. If you're looking to get a peaceful run in, get some time by yourself, some time away, Nathan, that's not happening today
No, it's not. It's
on
definitely not.
Watopia.
Let's take a look at some preliminary results here, as we should have some of them coming in for this so far. We'll get a reload perhaps of these, and there it is. Oh, this is gonna be, instead
If
of
it was a
TT2
road race.
results, we have a road race result here for some reason.
Yeah,
What's happening with that? We'll see if we can get some TT results here
we'll
for
sort it
everybody in
out.
just a second. We'll get that sorted. But if we do look at the times that have come in so far, Wahoo Lacole, it looks like at a 24:05, I think, at that 20K. Did they hold on is going to be the question. The real battles, though, here, Dave, are a little bit lower down the board.
Yeah, well, exactly. And when you look at it, Nathan, I'm trying, within 10 seconds is third, fourth, and fifth. Add another 6 seconds, and you've got 5 teams. And yeah, I mean, that could completely scramble. The most noteworthy rides outside of the battle between Wahoo Lacole and next for me is the Zwift kids, a team coming out of the woodwork out here to put together what could be a top 3 ride. Team Castelli, Nathan, with 4 riders. Most likely that benefits the Zwift kids. Even though we don't know who they are, that doesn't mean they're not incredibly strong. And 4 against 6, the last from the third check to the finish certainly benefits the team with the numbers, but you never do know. But yeah, that to me, those are the 2 biggest stories coming out of the day. Would be Zwift kids, hello, welcome to the big time, and Team Castelli, 4 riders sitting in the top half of the group.
I'm literally still trying to find the Zwift kids at this point. Like, I'm looking for their names even
It's a tough
at
name
this
to
point.
Google on
Well,
Zwift. Yeah.
they're also on the on Zwift Power, as well as within the as well as within the WTRL site as well. I mean, it looks like they're mainly maybe out of the Netherlands from what I'm looking at here. And the reality is almost every name out of the Netherlands, if you search a last name in the Netherlands, like I think 50 people have it on Zwift. So then it's going to be a little more difficult to find them. But this is the current situation as it stands. 6 seconds, Dave. I thought it was going to be a little bit more than that between Wahoo Lacole. Now, this is not final results just as of yet, but Dave, that was still super close with 5 riders showing up for next, presented by Ensure, and Wahoo Lacole was 6.
Yeah, it actually didn't, if that's correct, which might as well assume it is, it didn't really change much in that last check, nor should it. A slightly downhill run to the finish, Nathan, it's incredibly hard to get time back, I'm sure, as you've learned, because everybody's flying, right? And it's easier to keep the speed up. You don't have to reaccelerate over and over, which is that's what really breaks teams, is having to continually get back up to speed. Next and short, 6 seconds back. The Zwift kids hold on. Look at that. That is a really significant benchmark moment for that squad. I mean, they're still racing in one of the jerseys you get on when you're on a trial run with Zwift. The old Greg LeMond Team Z jersey there.
Yeah, I actually have it on screen right here. I just
Yeah.
found one of the Zwift kids. I'm gonna real quickly jump over to them.
That was a
I mean, this
children's
is
clothing manufacturer, Nathan Zed. They made like Garanimal type clothing for kids in France.
I had
There's
no idea. I had no idea that that was the history around that. One of the coolest kits. One of the first kits you can actually get in game when it comes to the levels. So
I'm sure Eric Min was a big Greg LeMond fan, because that Greg LeMond and Bob Roll made that kit famous.
Ah, I see. Gotcha. Makes sense. Makes sense. That makes a
Right.
lot
If
of
you
sense.
were a cycling fan, Nathan, in the 90s, which there's a big generation of, of us that are, this was the equivalent of a postal service kit 10 years later, 15 years later. Just everybody had them. Every bike shop sold them. They were just ubiquitous.
So real quickly for the top 9 that have finished so far. So this is just going to take a quick look at the league table. As the women are getting out on course, we will jump on in with the women's central EMEA as we're getting a history from the views of Hofmeister here.
We
Great to
should have a
see the Zwift
tie with
kids.
my.
And we do
Sorry,
have a
then.
tie at the top. No, it's great. It's absolutely great. We do have a tie at the top. Next, presented by Insured and Wahoo Lacole. But the last one to win is Wahoo Lacole. So I think those do reverse once we do get some back end work happening here. But Dave, I think this is going to be the battle for the rest of the Central. But the truth is, Team Castelli Hexagon, I think even the Swift kids now showing up today with what they pulled off. That was one reason why I wanted to focus in on this Central as well. Not only do we have the top level, what we see in the world of esports out of Europe, a lot of times in this Central, it's also a great time for coverage. But the reality is, we have these other teams that Grand Fondo, Team BE, watch out for them as well. I know that 11 points is not correct, actually. They'll finish and they'll get another little boost to their points here in just a moment. But they're a team. The ESCRT team is in here. The Team NL, the Zwift kids with a third place just now, bumping themselves up way up from where they found themselves last week. I think that there's some teams in here that want to really prove their mettle against what we're seeing from these top 5 so far.
100% agree, Nathan. I think that this will be really, really fun to watch. The Wahoo Lacole team and Next team, and Castelli for that matter, as well as Hexagon and Beast Mode. So I'm really looking at least the top 5 teams have got half of each team competing in the World Championships. I wonder how that will affect things. I actually don't think too much, to tell you the truth. I think the riders will want to keep racing and getting in some high-end efforts out there. And I don't think they'll be shying away from Tuesday's ZRL just because they won't change that. Do you think, or am I wrong there, Nathan?
No, I think there's going to be some. This is the best way to get your fitness. I think
Sure.
when it
You're
comes
actually
to
this
the
benefits your World Championship preparation. I would think finding
100%.
some
Yeah, I
intensity.
think
Right.
I think
Yeah.
so. I think the intensity in the legs is what a lot of times these riders are going to be looking for. So we are jumping in with one of the top teams in the world. Quite a few also world's representation going on here. Ariel Van Haren is here for Team Aeonian. The reigning world champion on the women's side of things is also on this team, but she just happens to be doing some polls for some of the winners of FDJ down at the Tour Down Under right now on the women's side of things. But Los Adagist
Oh,
not going to
see
be
that?
showing up, but she's been having some amazing rides as support for the current, I think, leader of the Tour Down Under for the women, or at least stage winners.
Yeah, she had a 7th place on the second day at Tour Down Under, and Losada, we're talking about the reigning esport world champion. I was so stoked when I saw that. I'd imagine first person I thought it was you, actually, thinking like, how cool is that to see? She's been very, very active in esports as well. It wasn't like she just showed up, Nathan, and won worlds and then vanished. She's raced with Aeonian. We're super familiar with her. So very fun to see that in real life. And then our friend Kate Verano has been down there as Zwift is presenting the best young riders jerseys at Tour Down Under. And Kate Bates, old friend of Zwift Community Live, has been just on fire doing all kinds of media down there associated with the race. And she's been one of the big stars. So nice to see all of our friends down there succeeding. But in this case, and Aeonian is the only esports team that has their own big bobble hats.
Yeah, well, I was just wearing that the other day, actually. It's winter
It's
here.
a cool
So
hat, isn't it?
absolutely love that hat. One of the best ones out there. Let's take a quick look at the league standings. Dave, you want to walk us through these as we get a few things for productions here warmed up for the women's coverage, but this is where things are at.
Yeah, just like the men. And I love the fact that, WTRL brings their own flavor and spices to the racing. And so here today, the teams start based on the order that you're looking at. So Aeonian would actually have been the fourth team out on course as Wahoo L'Ecole Vitesse was the winner last week. It's 6-race season. This is the third of 3 seasons. So we're into our 9th season of ZRL racing, all brought to us by WTRL. That's the World Tactical Racing League, who are amazing. And this has been just a blast. So after the first week of racing, Wahoo L'Ecole Vitesse has the 20 points, and it's linear as you stack them up. You saw this with the guys, where in the first week we had in that case, it was Next winning and Wahoo taking second. This week, Wahoo wins and Next taking second, so they're tied with an average of 19.5 points. But in this case, now Team Castelli, the women's edition, Team Castelli presented by Elite Women, were second last week. Third was Cryogen Stelvio, another long-standing absolute favorite on Zwift. That's Toyota Cryo RDT, working with them. 18 points after their third place last week. And then we just saw Aeonian was out on course. Another very popular team, Electric Spirit Co. This is Chanticleer sitting top 5 after week 1. Wahoo L'Ecole 6th. Roca Corba Collective. This is the team put together by Ashley Moman Pasio, the South African, the esports world champion that preceded Los Adeist. And she has her own collective, is a great way to put it, down there in the Geneva, Spain area. Roca Corba is a highly regarded, reputed climb. As right in 8th place now is Swedish Swifters Trud. 9th is KRTA, the Rockets. Very fun team to watch. Crush Pod Norns, a team that is always in the mix. And they're sitting right now in 10th. So we'll see how things change as we head into the team time trial, which will certainly suit some teams and others not so much. This is definitely a discipline that if you've been racing on Thursdays, it makes a huge difference. You really hate showing up at a team time trial without having those repetitions in. Like a lot of things. Repetition is the mother of learning, as they say. And here's a team that would know about that. Mamma mia, it's Team Castelli here as we're looking at. This is the Dirty Sorpresa that they're on now.
Yeah, and it does look like Donnie to the front. Good to see her showing up out here today for Team Castelli, presented by Elite. Hiriana Donnie. This is 186 beats per minute. She pulls at the front here uphill on the dirt climb. She may be putting a little bit of struggle actually into the team. You can see from the helicopter camera here. Yeah, 2 seconds almost opening up to the rest of the team. That's going to cause some mayhem perhaps, but looks like she's making sure that they're traveling as best as they possibly can uphill right now at 35 kilometers per hour. She's going to have to back up just a tad as Basalini's going to bring them across.
Chiara Doni, the the Italian that represented the world at the Zwift Academy finals and was very, very popular in these efforts. She has a tremendous amount of form. It was noted at 36 years old, she just got into the sport, and it really is going to be fascinating to see what happens for her the next couple of years, but she's a monster, no question, as she leads the Italians here of Team Castelli into the first of, if you were watching with the men, you saw it was a classic route. They've raced 2 times before. I believe it was 2 that they've raced before in the history of the ZRL. So we're back on Magnificent 8. It's just over 28 kilometers of racing out here.
Back in with Wahoo L'Ecole, but on the women's side of things, and look at this lineup here. Dave, Lindsay Cassie, Langham is here. Brandfoot, Illy Gardner is here. Corley Arthur and Lizzie Brooke. This is a monster squad. And they were the first to head out on course. So they are the current leaders at 20 points right now for this division. This is the EMEA Central Women's right now. And Illy Gardner now taking over at the front where she tends to shine, which is on the climbs. But Lindsay Cassie right on her wheel, 2 of the best climbers in the world of esports when it comes to women.
Corley Arthur as well. Now, yeah, Corley in this. There's 2 Wahoo L'Ecole teams out here today. And I would have to point, this is talk about a team of stars. that you've got here. I mean, every one of these riders has an amazing backstory, as I would expect. Eiley Gardner here has been one of the top riders in the highest level of Zwift racing. Lizzie Brooke also just sensational, one of the triathletes of regard that we have out here. And Nathan, Coralie, when you look at Coralie Arthur, what Scotland is going to be hosting a huge cycling gathering, and I really hope that we have a chance to see her check in with all of our friends at Zwift, because talk about a human being. That's Coralie Arthur we're looking at right now. She is a lifestyle, as I've said before. The I don't know. I mean, just like someone who's embraced being outside and all of the good elements of what Scotland can be. She should be Scotland's poster woman.
100%. I mean, it's a great
They should
call
run
out. If you
ads
ever
with
checked
her.
out,
You know what I
if you
mean?
ever, yeah, if you ever checked out the her Instagram and the social media posts, definitely some of the coolest stuff, best shots you can get out of Scotland actually coming from Coralie Arthur. Now, the reality at this point, though, is probably a suffer cam fest at this point, though, at the
Yeah,
back
I
of this,
wouldn't be
because she
pretty.
tends
Yeah.
to be the sprinter on the team when it comes to the power. But for being the type of rider that she is and holding on with the reality of Brooke and Gardner at the back here at this point, 181, she's going to have to put in a little bit of a dig here to hang
They know
on, though. But if she
they
can
know
make
how
it to the
valuable.
flats, if she can make it to the
Yeah.
flats, Dave, she's got big power.
Totally. She's worth it to hang around for maybe a half second here or there, because she'll get you that back in the last 10K of this race. And I think this team really gets that as well. Watch out for these ladies today. This is Wahoo Lacole that we're looking at. Boy, you want to talk about star-studded. Now, can Chiara Doni and her Italian? I mean, this is going to be just like with the men, an epic battle. This one might even have a bigger cast of characters, Nathan, to tell you the truth. When you look at the quality riders that we've got out here today, because we're going to be having to revisit Aeonian at some point. That team is extremely talented. Cryogen also, I mean, they've got Elisa de Jong, Jenny Eck, Joe Munden, and Rebecca Richardson out here today, although it looks to me like they're just starting with 4. So that,
Well, I'm
although
looking through
maybe
one, two, three,
maybe I'm
four,
missing. I'm missing. Yeah,
five. Eck is here. I wonder maybe if something was missing there. But Richardson, Mitchell, Eck,
Joe
Munden.
Munden. I had Eck. I had is Young. Yes,
Hmm.
it's Mitchell that is there that I didn't mention for Toyota Cryo.
Yeah, and perhaps maybe with a different name over on Swift Power, perhaps, or something that's not getting picked up there. But that is going to be the 5 that are starting out here. So it's still a little bit of a disadvantage, not starting with 6. Look at the line. I love how they all got in
Great
line
job.
there over the top. You can see how much
Well drilled.
organization that they have. Everyone, and you know that people have their power kind of under control, or at least they've got a finesse in the pedals still, and it isn't just grinding trying to find your way to the wheel. Instead, if you have that kind, I mean, that was like perfectly, I mean, that's almost like replay worthy to see how they got in line there at that moment. Goes to show how well oiled machine that this is.
You know what it's like, Nathan? I just came up with this analogy, but it's like watching someone who really knows how to juggle and is smooth versus someone who barely knows how to juggle, right? I mean, yeah, they're team time trialing, but, it's herky jerky. They're barely keeping it together. They're struggling. They're fighting to keep it together. This team's got the flow, the jet fresh flow. Look how they're using the momentum. I mean, you've preached that through the years, right? When you've got the momentum, bring it through, readjust, reorder. This team's really looking good, and I'm not surprised. You go back to not quite day one, but as soon as esports racing even became a glimmer in its mama's eye, this team showed up. Toyota Cryo RDT in full effect out here. Let's see what they can pull off today. Are they in for better than a top 5 ride?
They're riding currently out of their skin at this point. I mean, this is a very good ride right at this point, because the reality is Verhaeren, Yax, Swan, Aeonian, they only have gained 2 seconds in them at this point. Now, we are looking forward
Basically
here.
even.
Team Castelli, basically even as well when it comes to Cryo. So Cryo, Castelli, Aeonian, all neck and neck within a couple of seconds of each other. Great to see. Now, Verhaeren, the BMX Olympic athlete here at this point, who has turned herself into the one of the top esports rider in the world. I said it earlier in the season. I thought she was on a massive build up to Worlds, Dave, and look at her leading out Aeonian right now on this climb at 191 beats per minute, 5 to 5.2 watts per kilogram, dragging them over the top of this reverse KOM and bringing back 4 seconds so far to cryo RDT just through this section. Verhaaren is on fire.
Someone asked me, Nathan, why does Zwift racing esports matter? I would say athletes exactly like Ariel Verhaaren. Let's start right there. She's a mom. She's busy. She's an Olympian, but she's also an Olympic coach in the BMX discipline. She doesn't have time, Nathan, to travel all over the country and go to do races, but she can squeeze in the time and get her intensity. And as the Rolling Stones said, get your yayas out. She can get her yayas out racing here, and it works perfectly for her. And I think that really does. This is an opportunity to be your best, and that's what she needs. We called her the Swiss Army knife of racing, right? She's a really tremendous talent. I'm glad she's on the American team.
I actually have they gave us a little write up actually for because our coverage is going to completely focus here. And she said everything that you just said there. And she actually wrote right in here, Utah is my home state with a big heart emoji. But tell my buddy Dave, while I appreciate the shout outs to the motherland and its altitude, I haven't lived there in 16 years. I go back to visit when I can, though. So I think she is
Oh
on the
no,
East
where
Coast
does
now
she
at this
live?
point. She's on the
Oh
East
really?
Coast. Yeah, somewhere near the Appalachian. Where exactly? I had a
She's
conversation
probably
with her a
near a
little while
BMX
back.
track.
I wouldn't
So
be
my guess,
surprised.
yeah, they have the huge one. I know the old legend, downhill BMX legend Mike King is in South Carolina. There's a big BMX movement there. I wonder. We'll find out. So, well, thank you, Ariel. This is how you learn.
Yeah, and it was obviously with love said for sure. So great to have the information coming through from the
She's
rest of the.
cool.
She is so cool.
Yeah.
Polona Ikin, another one, Dave, that we've seen a lot of times,
Another mom.
struggling a little bit though at this point. Off the back, just
She's,
a tad.
we have had a blast watching her in the Grand Prix when she's had success. She's got, at least, I'm going to say a couple daughters, Nathan. I don't want to speak incorrectly, but I'm going to guess it was a couple daughters, and they were her biggest fans. They would come ripping into the room right after her race to give her encouragement. And I tell you, it just brings a huge smile to our faces watching the broadcast, seeing her getting that kind of support.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome. I love what Polona brings as a mom here. And I got a little bit of information here. I actually sent some things to you as well just now, Dave, just as a heads up there.
Oh,
But
thank you.
started road racing in mid 30s. She says because she's refusing to get old. As a teenager, did swimming and track and field races, local races in northern Norway, actually, and typically win everything in her category. As there are no women to compete with. So it looks like she's found some people to compete with here. Started Zwifting in 2020 to improve off-season training. Discovered she's not just desired to be an eternal wheel sucker in the men's races in real life. No major results yet. I wouldn't say that. She's not. I've seen some of the best results in the world now at this point. She says she's a sprinter, quite good in real life time trial. Well, she's showing off that
Whoa.
she is good at these time trials as well right now.
Nathan, would you do me a favor and cue up Lily Swan? Is Lily still
She's leading
here?
things out right now.
Yeah.
162 beats per
Yes,
minute.
she is. This is, well, she's a leader in every aspect of her life. She's been a firefighter in Herefordshire for 22 years, working in fire and rescue. It makes me think Sammy Stewart also works in that. These are the real heroes. So a huge thank you to you, Lily Swan. You're a hero, no doubt about it. She also would, if Ashton Lambie were watching the broadcast, I could get his attention immediately. She's the national 5K grass track champion. Grass track racing, that doesn't get any cooler than that. You know, Nathan, how I love going to Ghent to the velodrome there. Well, grass track racing is where, I mean, like, you want to talk about just down and dirty. Get your bike, get out there, flat track on the grass, and yeah, Lily, thanks a lot for being a part of the racing out here. She's a national age group champion there in gravel racing as well.
Can you help me? Okay, now because I've seen a video of what this grass track is about, Like, but that's about it. Like a 5 second little, maybe 2 minute thing on Ashton Lambie that Zwift put together.
Uh huh.
But like, what? They're actually on grass, and like that's like its own discipline. Like, I'm so out of
Yep.
the loop here.
Very underground. But yeah, so I mean, boy, you basically build your own velodrome. The banking can't be that steep because of you'll have a mudslide in turn two kind of thing. But so it's moderately banked. They're not perfectly smooth. It has a lot of that spirit of what bike racing must have been like when the sport started. Going back to 200 years ago. Not quite, but close to 200 years ago. So very, very primitive. That's a good way to put it. Core,
Gotcha.
very core. It's not like playing an acoustic guitar. It's like playing an acoustic guitar that you made.
And it better not rain. I mean, do you still race
Better
if it
not rain.
rains? I mean,
Right.
like that's
Yes.
what I want to know. I want to know if
Yeah.
you still race if it rains. Like,
I
oh
think
my
they call
gosh.
it. I think that
Okay.
someone taps the keg or something at that point. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, we're in with Kristen Yax. This is one of the top riders for Aonia as well. Has been around for a little while when it comes to Zwifting, and I think also a participant, if I'm not incorrect, in the Zwift Academy try in some sort of way.
That's another thing that I absolutely love. She finished fourth in her age group at the 2021 Ironman World Championships. So top five at Ironman. Yeah, I'm gonna say, is she the triathlete on this team, or do they have another? No one that stands out to me, I should say, as a triathlete. Oh, Amy Henderson, pro triathlete, on this squad as well. I apologize, but I don't know that Henderson. Yeah, there she is,
Yeah,
looking good.
Henderson is here as well. Amy is
Yep,
here
yep.
as well today. But
She lives in one of my. Well, I'm sorry, Nathan, but you and I need to take a trip to Portland, Oregon sometime. The bike culture there is absolutely incredible. Another mom, young kids too, 1 and 3 years old. So there's Amy Henderson. I'd imagine just like a few Polona coming to mind. I love seeing moms that set this kind of example for their kids, right? Work ethic and having some fun with it. And I think it's fascinating for kids. I heard Anna Russell on The Wrap talking about her youngest, maybe not her youngest, that would be too young, but one of her kids likes to Zwift right next to her. And she's kind of able to create a environment where
yeah, there were
everyone feels like
questions as
they're
to whether or
Zwifting.
not like it's okay because she like doubled up her power in order to have two avatars that were doing the
Oh,
same
sure, it's
thing,
okay.
right? And so then it looks like the kid is actually riding along with her. Kind of a thing. I thought we were going to be talking about whether or not the kid was on Z Power. I'd be like, go for it. But
And then it gets called a Power Ranger by Eric and the whole thing.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
But yeah, this is Amy Henderson. Actually, speaking of kiddos, it sounds like started training and racing on Zwift when she was pregnant, actually, with her first baby in 2019. Then started racing with
Wow.
Aeonian and had been Aeonian since fall of 2020. Then got pregnant with the second baby and raced through that pregnancy with Aeonian, actually. So very committed
So
mom when it comes to Zwift racing.
so when you go and you say, "Hey, I want to be a part of Aeonian," they must say, "Well, all right. Are you a mom?" You're like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And they're like, "All right. Well, are you an Olympian?" "Yeah." "All right. Well, are you a total badass?" And then you're in.
I'd have to agree with those statements 100% across the board here, Dave. Across the board, as we're in. That's the Aeonian team. We also have Lily Swan, as you said, Dave. Izzy Tori is the only one we haven't gone over here. Primarily a road racer, Tori. Now, did Tori make the start line? Is going to be my question because I'm not seeing her out here, and so that's
Is he Tori? I don't think she did, but we definitely want to give her a shout out anyways because she's definitely becoming a part of this Aeonian family, and she's in London, where actually I want to say, okay, she's not in the group.
nope, no go, no
Gotta
go. It looks like for in the
doing my
group
count
here.
back
Does
here.
enjoy all cycling disciplines. London sounds like, and newer to the racing scene with Aonia. It sounds like so. A few podiums of in real life TTs. Great to see. and really started
I
with the
think we've
WTRL
gotten
racing scene.
looking at her story, Nathan, when you she showed up and was wanted to get involved watching her brother race, and I love that we've gotten to the point now where like Tour Down Under with their women's race, there's no reason for a little girl to say I wish I could do that too. The same opportunities are being presented to both genders, and Zwift has really taken a lot of pride in that, being a part of that generational shift that we're seeing with women's cycling.
100%. I am seeing Barney's looking at this camera here. I wonder if he can hear me. James Barnes, can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? Real quickly, he says he can hear me. And as we're waiting for some of our time splits to come in here, I want to just have a quick conversation with James Barnes. I just to double check your audio here real quick, Barney. Can you
Hello,
hear me
Nathan.
okay? Hey, it's
Yep,
great to
you're
hear
live.
from you. I'm
And
gonna
you
see if
guys.
yeah, nice job out there today, James. It looked like it was a little bit of a sufferfest.
It always is the Sufferfest holding onto Tom and Zach's wheel that those two guys are on such good form at the moment. It's unbelievable. But firstly, I wanted to just put a big shout out to you, Nathan and Dave, for the work and the help that you guys do for the community and putting all the work into behind these broadcasts and getting all the helping people understand what it is that we do and the passion and the love that we have for it and you guys portraying it. So it's not just, and I think that's something that you guys don't get enough credit for is all of that, because I know how much work and effort it takes from you guys, and you guys sacrifice time out of your day to do this. So, you guys are shouting out the riders, and I was sitting here and I'm trying to like shout over the broadcast. Like, what about you guys? Like, somebody has to shout to you guys. So big
That's
thanks to you
awesome.
guys.
Thanks,
Well,
James.
yeah,
This really makes
appreciate
me
that,
feel
James.
great.
Appreciate that, James, for sure. Now, I just real quickly, as we're watching the women finish, get through the mid part of the race here, and we're looking at the WLC women right now, and that was the battle for the men. It looked like out there today between yourself and WLC. You had 5 riders show up. I saw last minute from Lambie maybe showing up there as well today. What was the story there for next today?
Yeah. So we did have 6 on the line. We lost Stefan and the reverse KOM. I think it's holding on to Zach's wheel and Tom's wheel definitely takes a special kind of person, and you learn a lot about yourself and a lot of self reflection holding onto those wheels. So we had 6, and then it turned into 5, and then I think it was a battle between Ashton, Richie, and myself to see who could hold on the longest up to that final kick up to downtown, and it was it's always been a battle through the seasons with Wahoo, and it's always great because there's such good, and I think also between all the teams there's such a good friendship, I think is the right word, but I wouldn't say exact friendship, because we were battling it out and all slogging each other and pushing each other to the best. So and it's great to see it over the seasons as well.
Nathan, do you mind if I jump in
Yeah,
with
go
a
ahead.
quick one here?
Yeah.
So, James, 2 moments, and again, thanks, James. Really appreciate you. The 2 moments I want to ask about is that first moment when you went down to 5 from 6. How much hesitation or wondering? And I'd imagine that's where the experience comes in on knowing whether we wait or not, or what we do. And then the final K as well. What was the team? How much communication, or is it just operating on instincts there? So 2-part question there, but take me through both of those parts as a team. How do you make those decisions?
So it's definitely when you lose a rider, it's a case of who is the rider that you're losing. And in terms of with the course, we lost Stefan. No discredit to him, but he was one of the stronger riders, so he's not as important in theory to the final 4 getting to the finish line. He called it literally as he was dropping, "Don't wait." So we saw him dropping out. So there was no hesitation at all from us. We just literally knew what the job that we had to do, and we kept pushing on. And then it was a case of just slightly reshuffling the orders, and then the job that they had to do and carried on. The second part to your question is that that final kilometer. I think it was actually turned into the final 5 kilometers. Everybody just literally hanging on. Tom and Zach were doing massive monster pulls. I think they were doing something a minute, 45 seconds to a minute long pulls at the end, and everybody was just scrapping just to hold onto the wheels. Whereas Ashton, Richie, and myself were doing, I think, 15 or even 20, 20-second if we were lucky, or 15-second pulls. So just to show you how strong those guys were today, and they kept asking for more pulls. So that final K was definitely a case of everybody just closing their eyes and kept pushing to the very, very end.
Is there
Wow.
something about team time trialing, James, where I don't know. I guess the proof is in the numbers, but what is the very deepest that you dig when you're racing in esports? Is it in? You don't have to don't tilt this towards team time trialing, but is this? That's a better way to ask it. Is this the deepest that you dig when you do these events, or no?
100%. Like I'll put the second deepest I've ever dug was that one Premier Division where I was the last next rider going over the Temple KOM, where I
Yeah.
beat Dawson at the end. That was probably the other deepest I've ever been. That was my PB 5-minute power of all time, because you're the last rider standing, so you have to hang on. It's the same thing with the team time trial. You have 5 teammates all relying on you, and everybody's pushing each other, and you find another point where you can always go deeper, and it's an amazing. Team time trials are an amazing thing to learn about yourself, and actually how strong you are mentally and how strong you are also physically as well.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's why they
yeah.
call him the
Well, that's
people's
great.
champion, Nathan.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is. Thank you so much, Barney. I really appreciate it. We're going to jump back in
Well,
with the
welcome.
women's racing, but it's great to hear the insights about how things went to get to that second place out there today. And we look forward to watching you guys for the rest of the season in Central, as well as good luck on your Zada test with that new equipment and World Championships.
Yeah, he
Well,
won't
it's
dig
quite a
quite as
joke.
deep in that.
Go, Dave. Go.
I was going to say, I doubt you quite as deep in your Zada test as you did today racing. We should have just done it with the race.
Yeah, I wish the team time trials would just been a Zada test. But the funny thing is, we had Alex and myself had a Zada test planned for Monday, and as a fitness test and prep for Worlds, and we were hoping that the Worlds trainer would arrive, and it hadn't. And funny enough, on the Tuesday afternoon, what appears on my door is my trainer, and I'm like sitting like, if this trainer just arrived 24 hours earlier, it would save me from having to do a second Zada test.
Oh, well, thanks
All right,
lots,
guys,
Barney.
and a
We'll
big
talk to
thank
you
you.
soon.
Big
Yeah,
thank
no
you.
worries. No worries. We'll see you for the rest of the season, and good luck with that test. Cheers, Barnes. Well, great
Awesome.
always to
Thanks, guys.
see.
Cheers.
Great to see Barney
What about you,
live
Nathan?
there.
What about you? Is this a team time trial's been for you, historically, where you dig the deepest as well?
It's close. It's close. I mean, it's different.
It kind of is.
It's different.
Yeah, right.
It's different than, I mean,
Maybe it would be if you were on next, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, maybe. That's the thing is there is a reality that I haven't raced at the Premier Division level though necessarily ever. It's a whole new level. It's a whole new level.
And to be fair, and this is not a knock on your team at all, but you've been coming in as one of the better, the leaders on your team, right? If you were one of the lower riders on that, you probably would have found your
exactly,
highest
and
level.
that's what I'm saying is Brett pushes me on the OMG team. For those that don't know, I raced for the OMG. Oh my God, they killed Kenny team out of the West. When I am racing, I'm not racing this season as I focus on training coming into the mountain bike season this next summer here. But the TTT, even amongst the OMG crowd, which is very strong, very strong. It's not quite the Premier Division level strong or Grand Prix level strong, but definitely very, very strong. And I do tend to be a little bit stronger on that team, so it does give you a little bit of breathing room. I would agree with that, Dave. But if I had to jump in with the likes of Thrall and the rest, I would be. I don't know, Dave. It's tough no matter what. My comparison, I would have said though, would be to in real life mountain biking and the suffering I go through there versus in Zwift. That's a tough one. They're pretty neck and neck. They're pretty neck and neck as far as the level of suffering you go through.
You can only go so deep, right? You hit the bedrock of pain. And that looks like where these ladies are at right now. Eiley Gardner it's actually going to be Lindsay Cassie taking pulls. Again, I feel like I'm squack dab in the Premier League right now with these names that we're looking at. Brandfoot, it's exciting to see her stepping up. Oh, it looks like Coralie just getting tailed off of the group. This time is taken off of the fourth rider. And it's only a couple of seconds back to Coralie. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah, I have a feeling Cora is going to just roll in for the rest of the day. They still got 5, though, Dave, and they've got some space
Couple
to
K to
work
go.
with, it looks like here.
Yeah.
7:43, 18:41, and 26:33. We'll still get times coming in here for the rest of the crew here. Cryogen Stelvio, their Toyota Cryo AT, they're 7:57, 19:09, and a 26:57. They're the next closest right now at this point. There is another Wahoo Cole team out there as well. Their second squad that's starting out there today, and they're 7.6 to go in their race. But we're still waiting for some times to come in for Aeonian and Team Castelli at this point.
Yeah, exactly. We have a lot more data that we'll be sorting through out there. But what we do know is this team has set the gold standard, or at least I would have to think that they have, especially when you look at the roster. 26:33 was their check at the last time that we'll see them before they come to the finish in a little more than 1K from now. And they are full tilt boogie here, is this Wahoo Cool team.
Yeah, looking really strong, actually. Lindsay Cassie, this has been a conversation about her. I've actually had some predictions from in the women's field that she may be one of the favorites out here when it comes to the top level of the racing here at World. I believe Lindsay Cassie representing
for the World
at the World
Championships?
Championships. I'm pretty sure that she is, and a lot of people are saying she's
She
one of
is.
these riders who is coming out of the woodwork. Like, where did you come from? If she can perform at that level, what a story that would be, even for a top 10, top 5 podium or a win. Lindsay Cassie would be one of those Zwift stories because she has just kind of come out of nowhere. Like, who is this rider? Suddenly discovered through Zwift, and then maybe, being recognized at the top level of the sport by the UCI. Amazing story to see.
Lauren Langham is another rider that is really come on strong here. As we take a look at these ladies now, just a few hundred meters of racing remaining. That's a good call on Lindsay Cassie, though. Absolutely.
Yeah, repeatability, though, that has changed up a little bit. We'll see when the dust settles how it's going to play out when it comes to the reality of Worlds and the way that they are running it now. It's a little bit different this time around. So we'll see if the punchiness that she can take on, because I have a feeling that there's riders out there. We're starting to see some of the training plans that I'm seeing from some of the riders representing really changing up this year, getting much punchier with a mixture of that threshold work and very punchy work to make sure that they're able to go with those efforts. Now, we are seeing Langham now go off the back. You only need 4. It looks like she put her last-ditch effort in, and now it's going to be Cassie leading things out. The rider we're talking about here, leading things all the way to the line, 5.7 watts per 187 beats per minute. She's got a lot to work with here on that upper ceiling of the heart rate, it looks like, as she was sitting at those lower 180s just a moment ago, suddenly ramping things up to the final.
Yeah, that's impressive, and that is exactly what we've talked about throughout the years of sacrificing a rider to get the absolute fastest time that you can. That's what we saw as Langham is done. She gets the team up to speed and then just sends them like a rocket ship to the finish line here. This one is done and dusted. Hard to imagine this won't be the championship ride of the day, but we'll have to let everybody else race through this finish arch here. But that one is put paid. Now the time will come out of that group of 4. Their 4th rider out of your 6. Back now as we pick up Aeonian, and there's some times coming in. Not bad at all. 27 seconds back at that check, but only 3 seconds out of second right now as it stands for the Aeonian Aces here. So they're in the mix.
Yeah, this is neck and neck, actually, Dave. I mean, literally, they are practically tied right now. 1 minute. They have been watching each other since we checked in with these riders at that reverse KOM, actually. This is great to see. The reverse KOM, they were locked at that 57, 58. We talked about Verhaaren that was pulling the time back in. I love this battle we see playing out right in front of our eyes. Munden to the front. Now the Zhang to the front there as well. Both of them almost matching their wattages here. Great to see this battle play out. Now, I'm going to jump in really quickly here. Here's Cherry Donnie here. I'm going to just real quick little look here at Team Castelli. Only 3 riders left, Dave. I don't know if they're going to get a time.
They
Interesting. Did they start with 4, though? It was my question. No, they didn't, did they?
They didn't, and I'm hoping maybe a rider's hidden for some unknown reason to me. But to be fair, you've got to have rules, and the time is taken off of the 4th rider. I know that we've made exceptions in the past, but in this case, I don't think that they would be able to find a reason to. So I don't know what's happening there, but that's disappointing if it's 3. for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one,
breaks
Dave.
my
We'll see
heart.
how it plays
Yeah.
out there, but a tough one.
But you
if
have
there
to
will be
stick
a
to the
DQ.
rules. You can't make exceptions in these situations.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what WTRL has to say about it. And I agree. Rules, are rules. If it's in the book, then it's the way it
Yeah,
goes.
I would need to know all the details, right? That's fair to say.
So it looks like Crouch and Stelvio, they're holding on to that 1 minute. Well, it's even, is what I'm trying to say there. Is it's a 1 minute start difference between themselves and the Aeonian team that is chasing them down. We'll get to a look here at how things are playing out into the final. Here's Cryogen now 4.4 watts per kilogram. Richardson there now 4.9 to the front. We'll get a comparison between these two teams. Now it's still 5 to the line for the Cryogen team. It's going to be Richardson to the front, 6 watts per kilogram. Now rolling over the top, it looks like Munden going to take over. Here's a kick, though, coming in from Mitchell. Now, as it's 7 watts per kilogram, 9 there from the lady out of the Netherlands as well. Solid kick to the line. And 39:10 was the time that I saw there. Can Aeonian make it to the line in the next minute?
It's going to be close. It's going to be a couple of seconds one way or another. Now, this is where Aeonian is going to be relying on that esprit de corps. Cryogen clearly finding a little bit extra. They're going to need to do that and more here. It's going to be Henderson, the rider on the front, taking one last monster pull here. I think they are going to be right there, Nathan.
Oh, it's so close, Dave. They got to come over the top right now.
Man.
Yaks, who's going to play it to make the pull to the line? It's starting to line up. Who is going to be the sprinter that's going to, or at least the sprint lead out to the line for 10 seconds, Dave? They've got 10 seconds. That's it. It's right to the line here, Dave. Will they be able to pull it off? They may have done it. It's within striking distance. 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't think that they've done it, Dave. I think that they've just barely been beat out by Toyota Cryo RDT by a second or two. Dave, it was so close. I absolutely love this racing. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, I mean, that's the parity that we've been looking for. You and every rider involved comes out of this one a better woman for it. You just can't dig deeper than that experience there. It's primal what you're going through. So again, thank you to Ariel Verharn and the Aeonian women for really setting a bright light out there in the esports world. We're going to go back. Is this going to be Roca Corba?
It is. It is Roca Corba. Great to see them showing up today, having a good ride. It looks like they're sitting in at a 28.
Kit looks good.
Yeah, they're looking really good. Drugen here out of the Netherlands. I hope I got that right there. Ridgeway coming on through as well. That's going to be Cat now taking a pull at 4.5 watts per kilogram.
The infamous climb outside in Spain there, Roca Corba. And
28.
Trying to get a feel for. There we go. 28.
Well, now we got an update.
Updating
there we go.
to 2804 there.
Full update.
No, you're right. Yeah, 2810 for Roca Corba. It's going to be Electric Spirit Co. at 2804. Look how close it is there. 2802 for the Etoile de Velo for the Wahoo WLC team, currently sitting in 5th. So only a few teams have finished. I'd imagine Crush Pods come across the line. Wahoo LaCole probably just about to. Now, as we're bringing everybody home here on week 2 for the WTRL Throwdown. 6 races throughout the early 2023 here. One of the most competitive fields that we've seen in esports history.
One thing I want to highlight just really quickly here, Dave, as we're bringing these ladies in. This is one thing I love about the team time trial, and also a reason why I'm jumping in with these both the centrals for the women and the men is I had a feeling that this might play out this way. Look at the Norns and where they're at. 10th place right now in the league, right, Dave? But the Norns right now, when it comes to their time coming across, look at that. They're sitting in 4th place right now at this time check, challenging, Dave, for a top 5 at this point. They might not hold on. We'll see. Roca Corba still got something to say. Electric Spirit, Wahoo LaCole Etoiles. But, Dave, the Norns here, they might make a massive jump from 10th place right now.
Well, and not to emphasize this too many times, but CrushPod has done their work in WTRLs on Thursday. So they're a
Exactly.
team time trial specialist squad. So it's good to see that paying off for them today.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. They have shown up. I mean, how many times have we, why do we know that name even, Dave? Because
Yeah,
of their
from
experience
WTRL.
in the
Yeah.
TTTs on Thursdays. They have been dominant there over and over again at the top level. Ooh, this is not something we're used to seeing from the likes of SZ. Dave, look at the little bit of separation we're seeing right now here from
It's like
Signe and Jessica.
it's like walking into an IKEA and having it look like a bodega in Brooklyn, right? You're not used to it being sloppy.
28-37 currently in ninth place. Good point there, Dave. And are they going to pull? They are pulling it back together. It looks like here for
There
SZ.
they
They
go.
will finish with 4,
See,
and they're being smart enough not to just drop the riders off here. It looks like.
Nathan, you were talking about this during the men's race, but you see how when they come back together, the experience was they don't go flying past and then kind of seesaw back and forth. At least when they corrected it, they only had to fix it once.
Yeah, 100%. They jumped right back on, and then their rider that was at the front took over again and just started pressing the pace
Good
exactly where they
experience.
needed to. Yeah, good experience. And SZ tend to have some amazing experience. It looks like today maybe just short on a couple of riders. They are going to overtake one of the riders that was dropped. It looks like from the WLC team, as that's hanging out in the Wahoo kit. It looks like that was first, and that she was going to be the rider that they let go for their last kamikaze poll, most likely, that she put out for the team, and then just goes ahead and finishes up. This is
Marlene
SZ.
Bjorn.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, speaking of SZ, Marlene Bjornhead was featured as interviewed by Chris in the Communique. And when asked, how she describes herself to her friends, she says, I describe myself as saying I do esports for fun. I thought, that's awesome. It's her jam, and I think for a lot of these women, especially wintertime, Sweden, this really fits.
100% keeps. I mean, the reality of the cold. One of the only ways you can have. Well, I guess if you're into skiing or hockey.
Ski.
I am a hockey
Yeah, but
player from youth, and I don't know what I'm talking
Wisconsin
about.
is
I've
not
gotten
that
soft.
different
I've
than
gotten
Sweden.
soft or something. I don't know what my problem
Yeah.
is. I mean,
KRT here, Nathan. Good call. Another familiar squad from many years of racing in esports. 4 riders, so they're okay.
yeah, actually, this is one of the squads. I mean, a squad that is as OG as it possibly gets. It's great to see them still competing at this top level in the A category.
It's
As
getting rare, Nathan, that you show me a flag that I at least sometimes I don't know what they are, but I know I've seen it before. But I am not sure that could I Uma
yeah,
a
I actually
nation
was thinking
here.
exactly the same thing. I was thinking
San
exactly that.
Marino. San Marino. So down by Italy, I believe. I'll do some research here, but I believe it's a small island nation, kind of. But San Marino is the answer.
Very interesting. Huh.
I hate to say this. This is embarrassing. I had never heard of San Marino as a country. That's how out of touch I am. It's a mountainous microstate surrounded, so it's part of Italy. San Marino is a mountainous microstate surrounded by north central Italy. Among the world's oldest republics, it retains much of its historic architecture.
Wow. Nice. I had no
Italian.
idea either. No idea either. Nice little kick here coming from the team, though. Norns are right on their tail. As they're finishing with 6, Dave. Crush Pod Norns.
Not many today. Yeah.
No, this is a nice effort here coming in from the Norns.
Finishing with 6 strong. That's the unicorn of team time trial squads today.
Yeah, and
Start
Dave,
with
that's the big shout out to them for doing that, because that's gonna keep what we're seeing here, Dave, from the Norns. I mean, this is a pretty big deal actually when it comes to the current standings actually, and this is gonna change things up a little bit as we're looking at the Norns all the way down there with 11 points. But what we saw from them just now is most likely a top 5 move here from them
you know,
with the 4th
I
place
think we
finish.
saw
Things
this.
are really gonna change up.
what was the men's team we saw that with? Was it Pizza Boys today? It wasn't, was it?
Swift
But
Kids, the Swift Kids, the
Sw-
Netherlands team.
Swift
Yeah, the
Kids.
Swift
Yep.
Kids.
They might have been ninth or 10th after week 1, and they moved up to 6th with a great ride. I think they had a top 3 ride. Very similar there.
100%. Let's see if we can get an update on the results here, and then once we do, we'll go ahead and see if this is
So,
where things might
Nathan,
stand
Wahoo Lacole,
afterwards. Look at this.
Wahoo Lacole now, I'm going to say that we might be approaching 10 wins in a row for this squad if you go back to the previous season, because I believe that they swept all 6 from the previous season. So I'm going to have to do a little research on that. But we could be looking at double-digit wins in a row for Wahoo Lacole Vitesse now as they go back-to-back here in the league.
Are
40
they
points
setting
go along.
records? That's a really great question here, Dave.
Yeah, we'll have to find out. I love, Nathan, that when I started with you, we didn't have a lot of historical markers to look back on. But now we're starting to get to that point where you can reference this. If someone says this is the greatest ride, well, you've got some things to compare it to at this point.
Real quickly, we're waiting for the results to completely populate. There we go. Just as we come on over. That was like
Nice.
Perfect timing. Thank you so much to the data in the background, even though it does not actually have a personality, even though it acts like it does sometimes. Wow, look over the test. Dave, take us through this here as I load up some of our other productions.
Right. Thanks, thank you, Martin and Nathan. So Wahoo Lacole Vitesse, 38-48 FTW for the win. Great job, ladies. Very competitive today, though, as there's only 36 seconds back to Cryogen Stelvio, Toyota Cryo RDT in second as they get the better of Aeonian Aces, but only by a couple seconds there as they'll take third today. Great job, Aeonian. Crush Pod Norms, as we said, they had a phenomenal ride, and they'll take fourth on the day. Wahoo Lacole, they'll end up with their second team in fifth. Electric Spirit goes Chanticleer for sixth. Roca Corba Collective A in seventh. KRTA Rockets eighth. And Swedish Swifters, the Trud, ending up in ninth today. And it looks like, unfortunately, they didn't get a time to the Italians there, as they didn't have, at least that's my assumption, that they didn't have the requisite number of finishers there to get a time.
Yeah, if we take a look here real quickly, they are sitting at the bottom in 10th place with 19 points. Now, that does not take them out of the running, but man, Dave, it's a tough one because they were in second place coming in, Dave, at 19 points. That's a really tough one. We'll see what ends up happening here. But 25, for 8th and 9th, I had something similar happen to us in America's West, and we were able to fight back for a top 5 by the end, and they have the kind of squad, Dave, that could do something like that. And at the top end here, there are some pretty big discrepancies between a lot of these teams, actually, when it comes from race to race so far, between race number 1 and race number 2. So we'll see how that plays out. They could really make some jumps back up. So a little bit of encouragement to their Team Castelli, presented by Elite Women there, to get back involved.
Yeah, you have to know the whole story to understand. They're certainly not in 10th place in spirit, but rules are rules, as we were saying earlier. So, yeah, you can see it's 3 points now separating our leaders, Wahoo Lacole, as they're on quite a run. Cryogen second and Aeonian in third. We've got a lot of racing ahead of us, Nathan, with World Championships throwing a little bit of a spanner in the works here as well. It'll be fun to see. But Wahoo Lacole just on fire right now. There's just not a chink in that armor.
Yeah, between both the men and the women's races. Who's going to challenge? Well, we'll find out who's going to challenge next week in round number 3, race number 3, as we have finished up our TTT. But that's only for the EMEA, the European broadcasts for the Central Divisions. We still have America's East women coming at you later tonight. Dave, the battle is heating up because I've got information on ATP Racing Stingers. We've got some more information on the Aeonian team, as well as, obviously, the battle that we've been hyping up between Riot and 2024. But, Dave, I'm not sure that we're going to see Virginia's Blue Ridge. They're currently leading things out, Dave, but there is a lot chomping at their heels right now.
Yeah, so come join us tonight. It's truly, Tuesdays have never been better as far as racing goes. And also, Friday, the women will be back at it in the Grand Prix final for team elimination. So, a lot to look forward to this week. I'll see you in a few hours.
This is almost like heating up for what's happening on Friday. We
Yeah.
get to see this preliminary on Tuesdays, but Team Time Trial is still coming at you later tonight for America's East for the women. So make sure to go check out the broadcast later tonight. We'll be back at you in just a few hours. And you can go ahead and check out twitch.tv. Check out the Zwift category. There's lots of people streaming their Zwift Racing League, actually. Go ahead and support that community. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit the follow buttons, comment, like, do all that stuff here on Zwift Community Live. And we'll see you later tonight for America's East. As always, from me and Dave, ride on.